blood red in Sydney Harbour, Australia.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis at ABC News headquarters here in New York. We're coming on the air this hour with breaking news. President Biden has just pardoned his son Hunter on gun and tax charges that he was facing. The president reversed his previous position. He had long said that he would not pardon Hunter, expressing faith in the justice system and the rule of law. President Biden was emphatic, telling our David Muir this summer that he would not pardon his son when he was directly asked. And Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters on Monday that the president had spoken on the issue.
Extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
A statement has just been released by the president saying, quote, "Today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. The charges in his cases came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough."
President Joe Biden has just pardoned his son Hunter on gun and tax charges.
This is a particularly controversial move from the president. One, because it's the president's son we're talking about, and two, because this is something that President Biden has said repeatedly he would not do. But he has now reversed course, and the president issuing a full and total pardon of his son Hunter Biden. In a statement today, the president saying in both cases, we're talking the drug cases and the gun possession and the tax evasion cases, it was clear, this is from the president, it was clear Hunter was treated differently, he said. The president saying, quote, "No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong."
Syrian rebels have launched a lightning offensive against the regime of Bashar al-Assad, entering the northern city of Aleppo itself for the first time in 8 years. This surprise onslaught has caught government forces completely off guard. The Syrian army issued a statement saying it's confronting a major attack and that it's reinforcing all locations along the various battlefronts, but residents say they've seen government forces retreating from some of Aleppo's western districts.
So we know about who's leading the rebel group that's launched the largest offensive against the Syrian government in years. And why now? Well, the group, also known as HTS, has a long and involved history in the Syrian conflict. It's the most powerful of the remaining rebel factions, spearheading the latest attacks.
It's an offensive that they are undertaking with help from some other Syrian opposition armed groups.
HTS is listed as a terrorist organisation by Australia, the US, EU and UN. It was once known as the Jabhat al-Nusra Front, and it used to be linked to Al-Qaeda, but it cut ties in 2016. President-elect Trump proving once again he plans to shake up Washington in his second term, announcing plans to nominate Kash Patel as his next FBI director. Patel is a hardline critic of the Bureau who has called for shutting down the agency's Washington headquarters, firing its leaders, and bringing the nation's law enforcement agencies, quote, to heel.
Speaking of his intentions for the FBI, Kash Patel told us what he wants to do on day one. Let's listen.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. We're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice.
Canadian armed forces are sending supports to respond to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Troops from Edmonton are heading to Latvia to support NATO defense measures. The mission is called Operation Reassurance. It's the armed forces' largest overseas mission to support NATO, and the multinational brigade Latvia is part of the biggest reinforcement of NATO collective defense in a generation. Troops left from Edmonton on Wednesday. Take a look.
Operation Reassurance is a critical mission for Canada, and the folks that are deploying today, there's about 180 soldiers deploying today on the Chalk, and they're trained and prepared and ready to support our NATO allies on this mission.
Inside the Georgian Parliament building in the centre of Tbilisi, there are thousands of anti-government protesters here setting off fireworks. Protesters are here. The other side, down the road, are the police. Lots of police, long lines of police, and water cannon too. A few minutes ago we saw the water cannon being used to try to disperse the crowds. People here are furious that this week their government suspended, they say until the end of 2028, Georgia's bid to join the European Union. And people here are angry because the aspiration to join the EU is enshrined in this country's constitution. So the protesters have been accusing the government of kowtowing to Moscow, being in the pay of the Kremlin. This feels like a crucial moment for Georgia because for more than 20 years this country has been on a path to Western integration, towards joining NATO and the EU. But that now seems to be on hold.
New Jersey is gearing up to be one of the ground zero. They are in the process of expanding their detention centers, the private immigration detention centers, through a business or a group known as GEO Group. They are planning a 15-year contract for detention facilities. These will be contracts with the federal government, with ICE, to provide housing or detention centers for those who are going to be unfortunately caught up in the mass deportation efforts, or the ramped up efforts, as I like to call it, ramped up. According to an article I have in front of me, it says that the state could become ground zero for mass deportation and detention efforts under the incoming Trump administration.
One of the arguments that the left makes is that if you start deporting people, we're going to have a labor shortage here in this country, that essentially everything hinges on the illegals that are here. Now, that's not necessarily true, because 4 years ago, when Trump shut the border down, we had enough legal immigrants to do the jobs we needed, and the economy certainly didn't hit a standstill. As a matter of fact, when they come here illegally, they don't get permits to work right away because they won't be paying taxes. And so ultimately, they love using that argument, saying, oh, everything's going to shut down as soon as you start taking people out. But that is not true.
When you cause a crisis as big as you've caused the last 4 years that overwhelms the Border Patrol, where most agents are pulled off their security detail, that's when the fentanyl comes across that kills Americans. That's when the sex trafficking of women and children up 600%. That's when women and children die. So if you want to fix it, Congress, do your job. But until then, we're going to force the laws of this country. We're going to force the laws enacted by Congress and signed by the president, and we're not going to be apologetics about it.
Current shelter in Chicago's Rogers Park neighborhood just closed down over the weekend.
Winter is coming up on us, and this shelter has been closed. I don't know what these individuals are going to do. I do know that organizations like ours are going to continue to be burdened by the fact that we're going to have to pick up the slack and take care of these individuals, because the city surely isn't being a sanctuary city.
A prayer for the coming of Mashiach, for real peace throughout the world. Mashiach
Mashiach, Bevias HaMoshiach, אני מאמין.